Before we get into the heart of this information, it's important to lay a bit more groundwork by making sure that you know there's quite a bit of difference between the way an adult brain and an adolescent brain operate. The reason this is so important will become more clear later, but once again, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as to what an adult is and what an adolescent is. When we hear the word adolescent, most of us think of teenagers. But according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, adolescents are described as people between the ages of 10 through 24. In a civil court of law, that is, if someone wanted to sue you for some reason, a person is considered to be an adult at the age of 14 if he's a male, and age 12 if she's a female. But in most states, you have a legal right to be treated as an adult when you turn 18. In a few states, you must be 19 or 21. But being treated like an adult and having the same rights as an adult doesn't mean that you are an adult. So when do we truly become adults? To answer that question, let's take another look at the dictionary. Here we see that an adult is a person who is fully grown or developed. So how long does it take to become fully developed? Well, that varies from person to person, kind of like a cake baking in an oven. The amount of time it takes before it's done depends on the size of the cake, the altitude, that is, are you 4,000 feet above sea level or 200 feet below? How hot is the oven? What kind of heat is being used? Electric, gas, infrared? If you're baking from a box or a recipe, your directions will tell you approximately how long to bake. Still, the best you can do is to make an educated guess, and when you think it's done, insert a toothpick. If it comes out clean, it's done. If it doesn't, then it needs to bake a little while longer. Similarly, your personal baking time, the time it takes you to become fully developed, may be slightly different from the girls around you. But the toothpick test doesn't work for you. By the way, as a side note, did you notice how the cake swelled up before settling down to its final size? Well, when you're an adolescent, the same thing happens to you. You plump up. As your body does the work to turn you into your final size and shape as an adult woman, it can plump up a bit, and as a result, you may feel the need to go on a diet. But that's not a good thing to do at this stage. You see, your body is working hard to transform you from a girl to the beautiful woman nature intends you to be. And in order to do that successfully, it needs good nutrition. So eat plenty of black beans, brown beans, lentils, black rice, brown rice, steel-cut oats, fruits and vegetables, dark leafy green vegetables during this phase. Then stand back and marvel at the beautiful woman you have become once the process is finished. So when is that exactly? When will you be finished? Well, I can't tell you that exactly, but I can make an educated guess with the help of people who know more about growth and development than I. You see, there are people who spent many years researching and learning about the human brain, for example. These neurologists have reported that the human brain continues to develop well into the 20s, with no significant growth after the age of 29. In fact, some neurologists have reported that development can continue into the early 30s. Neurologists also tell us that the very last part of the brain to develop completely is the prefrontal cortex, the area that helps us to think with logic and reason. When studies were conducted asking adults and adolescents questions that required logic and reasoning, brain images consistently showed that it was not the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain that assists with logic and reason, that was being used by the adolescents. And when a study was conducted on a group of college students, ages 18 through 25, the results found a large amount of growth and development took place during their years in college in the areas you see highlighted here. But it's not just the brain that continues to develop beyond the age of 18. Studies also show that the immune system continues to develop through the age of approximately 25 or 26. So if the average immune system continues to develop through age 25, and the brain continues to develop at least through age 29 and maybe into the 30s, and keeping in mind that an adult is someone who has finished growing and is fully developed, Isn't it much closer to reality to guess that a human becomes an adult at around age 30? The life expectancy of the average woman is 80 years, and what that means is that if you don't have a fatal accident or get a fatal disease, then you can pretty much count on living about 80 years. I say pretty much because some women live shorter than that and some live longer. In fact, although the average woman can expect to live 80 years, statistics show that the average woman today actually lives to be age 86, and many women live beyond 90. Let me introduce you to just a few. Doris Day was very famous in her day, no pun intended, and is 95. Betty White is still in the public eye today and is pretty well known by people of all generations and is also 95. Olivia de Havilland, actress in the classic Gone with the Wind, will be 101 years old this year on July 1st. And then there's Miss Susanna M. Jones, who lived to be 116 years old and until recently was known as the oldest woman in the world. So despite the fact that you can expect to live till you're 80, thousands of people live into their 90s, and some live even longer. I only showed you a precious few. This is important for you to know because even though you may think you've been living a long time, the fact is you can expect to live much, much longer than you already have. That's right. Compared to the amount of years you could actually live, you haven't lived long at all. Now imagine that you have the authority to make very serious decisions that will become a part of your life for the rest of your life at a time when, as we discussed earlier, the part of your brain that you need the most in order to make the best decisions for your life hasn't even fully developed yet. And you still have a lot of years to live with those decisions, but you have a legal right to make those most important decisions without the help of the much more experienced people in your life who love and care about you. Naturally, you don't have to accept the help of the people who should know best. You have a right to choose to get your advice from someone under the age of 30 who also has a brain that is not quite fully developed enough to tell you what's best. Even if they know better than you, they don't necessarily know what's best. Yet you will have a legal right to make those decisions on your own and live with the consequences for the rest of your life. One of the most important decisions you will have to make is when to have sex for the first time. Now, I'm not going to tell you that having sex is a bad thing. There are more than 7 billion people living on Earth today, and we all got here because a lot of people had a lot of sex. But what I will tell you is that there are some very good reasons that you should wait till later rather than sooner to get started. I'm sure you've heard that in addition to pregnancy, sex can lead to diseases like HIV/AIDS and cervical cancer from HPV. But let me tell you something about HPV that you may not know. The human papillomavirus is found naturally in the human male sex cell that we call sperm. A sperm cell has 3 main parts: the head, the midsection, and the tail.